Hey everybody, welcome to Big Valley Living. I'm Michelle. We are going to make meatballs today. Oh my gosh, you're gonna love these. We're gonna start by making the sauce. So today I'm gonna use 2 quarts of home canned sauce. If you don't can your tomato sauce, that's just fine. Most people don't. You can use 3 cans of tomato sauce of your choice and a small can of tomato paste. You'll just put 1 can of water per can of tomato sauce, and then you can just follow along with what I'm doing as far as the spices go. The spices don't change. We use oregano, bay leaves, a little garlic powder, fresh garlic, and a tiny bit of garlic salt in the sauce. So let's get started on that. Okay, we're going to crack some garlic. I have about 6-7 cloves here. What we want is about a tablespoon. Two tablespoons of oregano, generous tablespoons, 1 organic bay leaf, 2 teaspoons of garlic powder, not granulated garlic if you can get powder. And because I do want to add a tiny bit of salt and I want to keep with that garlic flavor, 1 teaspoon of garlic salt. And here we go with the sauce. Ooh, yeah. Make sure that if you have home canned sauce, that you don't have anything crazy going on. And there's 1. I love that sound. And 2. You know, you could also use a marinara sauce if you get an organic jarred at Costco or Trader Joe's or anything like that. I am going to add a little bit of water here. 1 quart of filtered water. Now I'm going to go ahead and add my fresh garlic, 2 generous tablespoons of oregano, and the garlic powder and the garlic salt, bay leaf, and we will stir to combine. I'm going to use a whisk, get all that in there. Now, I am going to go ahead and turn this on high to get it to boil. Then I'm going to reduce it to a simmer and put a lid on it. And it'll be simmering so that when the meatballs are done, we just put them straight into this yummy, yummy sauce. And now for the star of the show, the meatballs. 2 pounds of ground beef. I'm actually using an 80-20 blend, and that means 80% lean with 20% fat. We're going to need the fat to render off to help with the flavor. Now we're going to add a pound of mild Italian pork sausage. 6 more cloves of crushed garlic. 6 more cloves, Michelle, what? Are you crazy? No, I'm not. It's really, really good. They're all minced up. This is about a really heaping tablespoon of fresh minced garlic. And I'm only telling you that because not all cloves are treated equally. So if you have larger garlic, you might not need 6 cloves. And if you have smaller garlic, you're gonna have to use a few more. But I'm gonna remind you, friends do not let friends use minced garlic from a jar. Please don't do that. Now we're going to add another 2 tablespoons of oregano, dried oregano. That's about all we're going to need. We are going to use 2 eggs. You can whisk them or you can just put them in like this. I prefer to whisk them. Just enough to break everything up, okay? You don't have to go crazy. Pour that over the top. Set the bowl off to the side. And now we're going to use 3/4 cup of breadcrumbs. I usually just buy plain from Progresso. So 3/4 cup of breadcrumbs. Here comes the fun part. Now, if you don't like the feel of dough and meat and everything, go ahead and put on a pair of gloves. I've just washed my hands and I have taken off my wedding ring so that it doesn't get in there. And we're just gonna get in and mix it all together. Check it out. And it's just gonna come together. You wanna make sure you get all your spices and your garlic. You don't want any, you don't want anything to be unincorporated, because the whole point here is to bind it before we roll them into meatballs. The meat is all mixed with the other ingredients to bind it together. So now we're gonna start forming the meatballs. And first we wanna get our pan ready. You can either use a cookie sheet or a sheet pan, if that's what you call it. Make sure it has sides, or you can use an oven-safe pan, which is what we do. This is a very large oven-safe pan, and to get the meat started, I am going to put maybe a teaspoon of olive oil in there, and then I'm going to use a towel to just make sure that the pan is coated. Alternatively, you could absolutely use a spray. Off we go. So I have this little scooper from Pampered Chef, and it holds like a big rounded tablespoon. So it just helps me to make sure that they're somewhat uniform. Okay, round it up like that. Again, if you don't like the feel of raw meat, then by all means, go ahead and put some gloves on. Put it in the pan. This is gonna yield approximately, here, I'll use the scoop so you can see again. This is gonna yield approximately 32 to 36 meatballs. It's more than what JJ and I would eat at any given time. So before putting these into the sauce, if you wanted to save some off, I would say after they're cooked through, go ahead and put them in, let them cool off obviously, and then you could freeze them for future use. I'm so used to doing this without a scoop. Okay. And this has pork in it. You do not need to use pork. You could use all ground beef. If you prefer turkey or chicken, any kind of poultry, you could absolutely do that. And if you do use poultry, I would caution you to add some sort of extra fat in there because they could be really, really dry, okay? And another note, I will be checking these with an instant read thermometer when they're in the oven, because I like to make sure that they are completely cooked before they go into the sauce. I'm actually making these for some friends today, and we're gonna have lunch together, and I'm gonna make meatball sandwiches. So you definitely wanna make sure that the meat is cooked through. If you have poultry, well, even ground beef anymore, but poultry, pork, definitely make sure that you come up to temperature. These will be at about 161 to 162 when I pull them out of the oven, and then they'll go into the sauce. So I'm gonna finish this up, and then we're gonna put these in the oven. Ready to go into the broiler. Ooh, baby, look at that sauce a-simmering. Man, it smells good in here. The meatballs have been in the oven for about 5 minutes, and they're just starting to brown on top. So I'm going to carefully remove my pan with an oven mitt on from the pan, and I'm going to turn them and put them back in for another 5 minutes, keeping an eye on them. And then we'll go ahead and make sure that our temperature is up to snuff. You always want to keep an eye on your meatballs to make sure that they don't get too brown. Right at the halfway point, I went ahead and used the instant read thermometer, and they're right at about between 102 and 104 degrees. So at about the 5-minute mark after putting them, turning them and putting them back in the oven, I'll check the meatball temperature. You must cook any pork products to 160 degrees Fahrenheit, so we still have a little ways to go. Here's another quick time saver. While your meat is in the oven and your sauce is cooking, go ahead and roll the rest of the meat into meatballs so that when you pull the first batch out, you can go ahead and add the second batch and get it going. Just keep it in succession. Sizzle, sizzle. Okay, so I've pulled these out of the oven, and the instant read actually shows them over 160 degrees. See, ooh, 173. So these are going to go into the sauce. And I'm going to take my other meatballs and put those in the oven while these marinate. See that? Oh my goodness. And again, it smells really good. It seems like we used a ton of spices, but at the end of the day, it's being spread out amongst a lot of meat and a lot of sauce. Okay, so off I go. It was that easy. Thank you so much for visiting Big Valley Living while we made our homemade meatballs. Again, you could freeze these. You can put them into a fondue pot for a get-together or a potluck. You could put them into a small crock pot, keep them on low. They keep all day. So this is a great, great thing to have for any kind of a gathering. They're fantastic over some steamed zoodles, which are zucchini noodles. Great over pasta, just like spaghetti and meatballs, because that's what it would be. And also, they make fantastic meatball sandwiches. If you'd like to see our secret for really, really good hot sandwiches, I'll put a link to our grilled tri-tip sandwiches in the end card. So thanks again. We really appreciate you coming by. And I'm Michelle. Make sure you subscribe and share and hit that like button. The like button is huge. Have a great day, everybody. Be kind.